Were you surprised that when you were making progressive house music in the 90s, or in the mid-90s in Washington, to find that people in the UK were doing very much the same?
Yeah, it was. It was weird for me first coming over here because I didn't know anything about any kind of house scene whatsoever. I mean, I grew up in the backwoods of Maryland, so to come over here and see that people were actually embracing house music of any sort was amazing to me. But when I came over here, it was like it was still a lot of very linear based house records and some of the first tracks that I made, like "Embracing the Future" and "Nocturnal Transmission," a bunch of stuff for the first album for EMA, were really dissimilar to what was happening here actually when I came over. And but it made sense. All my friends at home were making fun of me. The deep dish guys, they're like, "There's 3 minutes of the track without beats. What are people gonna do?" Like, I don't know. I like it though. You know what I mean? So, but it was wicked to come over here and be embraced by English clubbing culture or whatever. It's mad to see that there was actually a scene that was into house music. Because we don't have that in America at all. It's funny. Like, people mention Chicago and Detroit to Americans, and we think of cars.
Why do you think there's a continual transatlantic ping pong game when it comes to dance music?
I think because different people. There's great scenes happening in different places. But you guys definitely have one up on us for sure.
Yeah.
We don't have the history of it. You know what I mean? Like, you guys had Kraftwerk on top of the Pops. In America we were listening to Kiss and AC/DC. I wasn't, but lots of people were. You know what I mean? So it's a totally different thing here.
UK was actually the first to accept your music and accept yourself. Do you think that was quite strange?
The thing that wasn't strange about it is like I said, when I was growing up and everybody was listening to Bruce Springsteen or whatever, I was a proper Anglophile. I was listening to Frank Tovey and the Fad Gadgets and Cabaret Voltaire and Depeche Mode and the Cure and the Smiths and New Order, and like, I grew up on English music. So for me to come here and for people to be into what I do here was much more of an honor than even back home. Because I grew up listening to this music, and this is the music I admired my whole life. So,
You're now based in LA. Why do you choose LA?
I moved out to Los Angeles specifically for film stuff because I just did a film called Go that the director of Swingers, Doug Liman, directed as his second film and stuff. And I went out there like 10, 12 times or something working on the movie, and it was like, this is ridiculous. I just move out there for a while, And so it's really good, because I'm really getting into the film thing and just working on a new picture right now called Under Suspicion with Gene Hackman and Morgan Freeman. And doing loads of film stuff, so it's very cool for that, and it's kind of essential.
Do you find it difficult though to actually write music to somebody else's vision?
It's an entirely different task. It's a thing unto itself, and it involves a lot more subtlety than it does making records, because things that can be very powerful and emotive and effective in a record can be totally over the top and heavy-handed if it's juxtaposed with picture. So it's really important that I think the subtlety of it is the most important thing. And it's really funny for me, actually, because Go was my first movie, and so I got so involved in the process of doing it that by the end of it, like, I couldn't have breakfast cereal without thinking to a theme to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just so totally immersed in thinking about real life events and what the music would sound like for it. But it was a wicked experience. I absolutely love doing it. I can't wait to do more of it.
You actually studied at jazz college, and also you studied classical music. Do you think it's important to have an academic knowledge before you go ahead and write music?
I think it varies depending on the individual, but for me, it was really cool. But the thing that's hard about it is, if you do have training, is turning it off.
Yeah.
Because you understand what's happening, and so it's really hard to kind of dissociate yourself from knowing what's going on in a record and just saying, like, it makes it hard to listen to a techno track with two sounds in it and appreciate it.
Yeah.
So you really have to be able to turn that off and to just enjoy things like a punter too at the same time. So,
Tell us about your recent album. You actually, the first release on it, Mercury and Solace. Is that the general vibe of the album, or are there different styles on there?
There are radically different styles on there, but it really does fit together as an album. It really makes sense as an album. and there's a lot of, I mean, I've done collaborations with the Hybrid guys and Kirsty Hawkshaw from Opus 3, Jan Johnson, who's singing on Mercury and Solus, DJ Rap, Kevin Bieber and Adam Freeland, Sasha. I mean, there's Paul Van Dyke. Just all my friends are on there. You know what I mean?
Cool.
So it really progresses. So the first sort of third to half of the album is all like breakbeaty type stuff, and then it goes into more progressive house stuff. But really, the progressive house things that are on the album are really sort of testing what works. You know what I mean? Like really like trying to break through some of the sort of more established patterns that have the problem that I call it regressive house music now. I don't think there's progress in it. I really don't. I think that for the most part, with the exception of several real innovators, that there's no progress being made in that music anymore. And it's because that kind of any kind of music is like an equation, and there's multiple ways to solve the equation, but what happens is somebody finds a way that the equation can be solved, and they end up doing the problem the same way over and over again. It's really, I'm really trying to push the envelope as to what's palatable and acceptable, you know, but achieves the same kind of emotional impact on the dance floor.
Is it true that you and Sasha are actually producing an album at the moment for Peter Gabriel's label?
Yeah, it is true. Yeah, we're doing a record right now for Real World, and the project's going to be called Reverb, and the RE's in brackets, and we still have no idea why, but it looks cool. So, but it's mad though. We've done like loads of. It's so funny because we went there for a week, and we went to do one track, and by the end of the week, we're like, wow, we've finished an album. What the hell is this all about? You know what I mean? So, which is pretty unusual for both of us.
Do you see your career ending up or continuing? Are you going to go to the soundtrack side, or are you going to continue producing music, or are you going to have a balance?
I think eventually, you know, sort of when I'm in my 40s and 50s and stuff, that I'll probably go into, you know, scoring films full time. You know, I want to chill out and like, you know.
Not too hectic.
Yeah, I get sick of watching Sasha pass out on decks and stuff.
Cool.
Sorry, Sasha.